Plebes unum presentas elecciones presidenciales en la historia mexicana. The 16th official Mexican presidential election took place on August 21st, 1994. Gortari took Mexico to an even more neoliberal turn than before. His inauguration emphasized his goals to modernize Mexico, and the first thing he did after his inauguration was jail prominent union leaders who were opposed to him. He also privatized many state-run enterprises. He also began the precursor of what would eventually become the Mexican drug war, and made many efforts to try and diminish the power of his right-wing and left-wing opponents by removing the anti-clerical parts of the 1917 Constitution to appeal to right-wingers, and creating a social welfare program called the National Solidarity Program to appeal to left-wingers. But the biggest thing that happened during the last year of his term was Mexico joining the North American Free Trade Agreement. The implementation of it led to the Zapatista Army of National Liberation, a far-left libertarian socialist military group, to coordinate a 12-day uprising in the state of Chiapas, which ultimately ended with the Zapatistas getting their own autonomous area in Mexico. Meanwhile, in electoral news, there were a couple of parties that rose up in the intervening time. A socialist party called the Labor Party, and a green conservative party called the Ecological Green Party of Mexico, though the most prevalent one being the National Democratic Front, transforming into a new political party called the Party of the Democratic Revolution. And in the midterms, the Chamber of Duties had 180 seats in the opposition of the PRI. With all that out of the way, let's move on to the election itself. Since we're approaching the end of this series, I've decided to suspend the 1% vote rule so I can talk about all 9 candidates in this election. First, we have something notable. The PARM officially decided to run their own candidates, nominating party member Alvaro Perez Trevino, running under the slogan, "Victory is ours." Second is 1982 PAN presidential candidate Pablo Emilio Madero, making a second run for the presidency, this time running with the Mexican Democratic Party. He ran under the slogan, "Democracy is our homeland." Third was former Chamber of Duty members Marcela Lombardo Ortero of the Popular Socialist Party. She was the daughter of the party founder and first presidential candidate of the PPS, Vicente Lombardo. She ran under the slogan, "The choice is yours." The next was former student activist and political prisoner Rafael Aguilar Talamantes, running with the Party of the Cardenas Front of National Reconstruction. He ran under the slogan, "Legitimate Government." Next was the Ecologist Green Party of Mexico, who nominated party leader Jorge Gonzalez Torres. He ran under the slogan, "Don't vote for a politician." Next candidate was former PARM member of the Chamber of Duties, Cecilia Soto Gonzalez, representing the Labor Party. She ran under the slogan, "Women's Party." While those candidates were there and ran, it was really just a 3-person race. First, we have the Party of the Democratic Revolution, who nominated Cuauhtemoc Cárdenas to make another run for the presidency, who was still coming off the popularity of his last run, running under the slogan, "Democracy, Justice, and Freedom." Second, the National Action Party, who nominated former Chamber of Duties member Diego Fernandez de Ceballos, trying to reclaim the title of the PRI's main opposition, running under the slogan, "The Only Sure Change." And lastly came the PRI nomination, which was rather interesting. Gortari could have listened to the cries of the last election and moved the PRI to a more democratic way of choosing their nominee, but he decided, nah. It was expected that he would pick the mayor of Mexico City, Manuel Camacho Solis, for the job. However, he chose Secretary of Social Development, Luis Donaldo Colosio, instead. Solis then resigned from his position in protest. So in response, he was appointed to a position in Gortari's administration, which inevitably made him become the mediator during the Zapatista conflict, which just raised his profile even more so. So much so that Gortari had to remind people in the media that Solis was not the candidate. Early in the campaign, Colosio wasn't doing so hot, so he decided to distance himself from the current administration and cozy up to a new crowd, making a speech on the PRI's anniversary that echoed many of the Zapatistas' platform of combating government abuse, supporting indigenous peoples, and independence from the government. He even promised an open dialogue with the Zapatistas, Wow, this is actually an interesting development. Maybe the PRI is going to change itself for the better now. But then, on March 23rd, after hosting a campaign rally in Tijuana, Colosio was assassinated by Mario Alberto Martinez. The assassination is pretty much a Mexican JFK assassination, as there's many conspiracy theories claiming involvement from outside forces. The most prevalent theory being that Gortari was the one who ordered his assassination due to the distancing of his campaign and criticism of the current administration. After a 3-day period of mourning/halting of the campaign, Gortari chose former Secretary of Energy and Colosio's campaign manager, Ernesto Zedillo, as a replacement. Zedillo never held political office before, and was seen as a weaker candidate than Colosio, which led to those same theorists to liken it to when former President Plutarco Calles picked people he could vicariously control after Alvaro Obregon's assassination. Despite all these theories, Zedillo moved forward with the slogan, "Well-being for your family." This election is also notable for being the first election in Mexican history where the candidates debated each other. Zedillo, Ceballos, and Cardenas were invited to a televised debate that was watched by 34 million Mexicans. The person who was considered the winner of the night was Ceballos, for relentlessly going after the two candidates, saying about Cardenas,
que si tenemos que creerle los mexicanos a usted que es una opción democrática, tendríamos que creerle a Aburto, que es pacifista.
And said to Zedillo,
sabemos que usted ha sido un buen chico con altas calificaciones, pero en democracia creemos que sinceramente no aprueba.
That debate was seen as changing the dynamics, as now Ceballos was seen as the biggest opposition to Zedillo, and Cardenas was now the third wheel. But for some reason, after the debate, Ceballos kind of disappeared from the media. What took his place was the PRI-controlled media, saying that changing the ruling party during these trying times was a bad idea, and Cardenas was a violent radical. And here are the results. Unsurprisingly, Zedillo won with 50.13% of the popular vote. Ceballos got 26.69% of the vote. Cardenas got 17.07% of the vote. Gonzalez got 2.83% of the vote. Torres got 0.95% of the vote. Aguilar got 0.87% of the vote. Trevino got 0.56% of the vote. Lombardo got 0.49% of the vote. And Madero got 0.29% of the vote. Cardenas contested the election results, but it appears no one else joined him, presumably due to apathy of the PRI's rigging. In the Chamber of Duties, all but 4 parties were electorally wiped out. The Labor Party winning 10 seats, the Party of the Democratic Revolution with 71 seats, the National Action Party with 119 seats, and the PRI with 300 seats. This was the last election where one party won every state in the country. As we could see, the opposition is rising and coalescing, but the PRI has too much power to be kicked off of their pedestal, so the opposition might as well stick to second best. Right? Te veré para las próximas elecciones, amigo. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when the future video might comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, follow my Discord, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.